Welcome to Sportstime. It's a special on LSC, your local sports channel. Today I have with me Deanna Brown, who is a athletic director at Phoebus High School. Thank you so much for coming by.
Oh, my pleasure.
Now, we were talking earlier, and I said, well, where are you from? Were you from, you're local? You're not, you're from where?
No, I'm from Florida, actually. I grew up in a town in northern Florida, went to University of Florida, and that's
University of Florida.
Yes, sir.
And then from there, but while you were down there, you got involved in something that I didn't know the ladies played as much as. We're talking rugby.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, when I went to school at Florida, I had a couple of friends that had played rugby, and beforehand I swore I'd never play because I thought it was too physical, too violent, and I went to one practice and wound up playing 11 years.
Wow. But you went from Florida, you went to New England. So let's
did.
talk a little bit about that.
After I graduated from Florida, and pretty much before I started a career, I felt, yeah, maybe go live somewhere else and experience the world, outside of Florida. So I chose some place that was very different. I went to southern Massachusetts and Rhode Island and hooked up with some friends up there that had played rugby, and wound up being up there for 6 years, and winning a couple of national championships in rugby.
See, that's what's amazing to me. National champs, that's just awesome. And also you got to experience a tremendous difference in the weather.
Oh yeah. Again, I'll be happy.
I can understand that. All right, now, just get back, you've been athletic director. A lot of duties. A lot of people don't understand exactly what all the things. You go to a contest and it's there, and the police are there, and the buses and the kids show up and all. It's a little something. It's more than just twitching your nose and making it happen.
Oh, yeah.
All right, what's the biggest thing that you have to deal with?
Probably in the beginning would be eligibility, especially in the fall sports, because you have football, which we had over 100 athletes that I had to verify their eligibility just in football.
Right.
And once you get that done, then the rest is a little bit easier. But
well, now golf starts early.
Golf starts, actually, all the sports can start the first Monday in August, all the fall sports. And golf will have its first competition probably a week and a half later.
Right.
So it doesn't leave much time to get those athletes to verify their eligibility.
How many sports are we talking?
In the fall, I think there's 8 or 9. We just added JV field hockey, so I think there are 9 sports.
But total sports at the school, what are we talking, almost
They're 29,
30?
yeah,
29.
And next year we'll have volleyball, so that will put it to 30, or if we have boys and girls volleyball, we'll go up to 31.
Wow. So now, how's the practice going to work there? Now, they'll get the gym because basketball's not started yet.
Right. Volleyball is a fall sport, so they'll be indoors in the gym. And, it will affect some things like open gym later on in October for the preconditioning for some early preseason conditioning for basketball. But I think we'll be able to work that out.
Good. All right, now, we're talking about meeting with the coaches. Do you meet with all the coaches personally? You do it with email? How do you keep your contact with the coaches to let them know you're on the same page they're on?
Right. We have 3 preseason meetings, one in the fall, right before the athletes come in, so it would be like the last week of July.
Right.
And we just had one last week for the winter sports, and we'll have another one in mid-February before spring sports start.
Okay. Now, ordering equipment. That's got to be a bigger thing for football than anything else because there's so much more equipment. So how do you order the equipment? Do you get I'm sure you get input from the coaches, but how do you select the vendors, for example?
Well, it used to be a little bit easier, but harder. Last year they made a change. Hampton City School changed and went to, they allow you to spend more per DPO or more per purchase, but you have to get a quote from a SWAM, a small women or minority-owned business.
Okay.
So it has to be a women-owned or minority business. You don't necessarily have to go with that vendor, but you do have to give a smaller minority vendor the opportunity to bid on all purchases that you make.
All right. Now, I talked to Stan about the jerseys. The jerseys are coming apart, the seams and all that. So that's something else that now you have to deal with the vendor that gave those to you.
It is. It's a vendor that we've used for a while, so we have a good rapport with them.
Okay.
And if things have, you know, once in a while things will happen. You know, you don't get a good product, and they've always made good on it. We've already spoken with the vendor and showed him the jerseys, and he says finish the season and we'll replace whatever needs to be replaced for next year.
Oh, well, that's great. And again, it's good to have a vendor that you have a history with, isn't it?
It is. It's good, especially a couple that we worked with a lot recently they do meet the requirements of being a women-owned or minority business. So if we go with them, we don't have to do the bid process.
Oh, okay.
So,
Makes a
and
difference.
we've
Okay.
also, because we have a good relationship, we've always gotten that relationship is there because they have been the lowest price. You don't want to go with someone just because they're a women-owned or minority company.
Right.
You got to get the most bang for your buck.
Right. All right, now let's skip over from fall. Now we're going into winter. You're going to have a contest at the school.
Oh, yes.
Something different. So you didn't have to worry about the police or the ticket takers, all that during football
Right.
season because Beth handled all that. Now it's at your school, different animal. You handle that. What do you have to do?
Well, what don't we have to do?
Yeah. How do you contact your people?
Well, the officials are set up through the district because they have
Right.
a schedule, and we have a contract with the officials. So by them having that schedule, it's just up to the athletic directors to confirm that, yes, we are on the schedule for that night.
Okay.
We have to get workers for each event, depending on if it's a JV or a varsity game. That
Right.
would determine the number of employees that we have. You know, someone for security, you have to have a ticket taker, a couple people to watch. If it's a varsity game, then you have 3 or 4 police officers that are there. And you also have your scorekeeper, your clock worker, you know, all of those positions. And you can't just throw somebody in at the last minute. They've got to know what's going on because
Right.
basketball is a pretty fast-moving sport.
Right. Now, when you have a basketball game, a varsity game at your contest, the JVs are playing at the other school. Is that the
Yes.
way that works now? So when you're varsity somewhere else, you still have a ball game at your
Correct.
school.
Correct.
So you don't get to go see the.
No. Before I was AD, I used to be the scorekeeper, so I got to see all the varsity games because I went with them everywhere. And I kind of miss that, but I also like being able to see the younger kids play, the junior varsity, the girls and the boys, and see the kids that I teach in PE, the 9th and
Right.
10th graders, see them actually get a chance to play.
All right. How do you handle the transportation?
Each coach in our preseason meeting, they get a transportation form, and they list on there all their contests and the time they want to be picked up. And
very good.
then we turn that in to Darren Wills at transportation, and he gives us a driver, and we pretty much, barring any weather incidences, we stick to that schedule pretty much.
I know. When I was coaching at Bethel, and I was a basketball coach, I had the same driver all the time, Henrietta Price. She drove the basketball team all the time.
Yeah.
So is it the same way now? Do you get the basketball boys? Do they get the same driver all the time? Because that makes a difference. It makes you feel more comfortable. It did me.
Yeah, it does. The coaches, there's a place on the form you can ask for a driver, request a driver, and for the most part, they do get to choose that driver. We've had the same one for basketball as long as I've been at Phoebus, and the cheerleading driver's the same. She takes them to football games as well. So you do get that connection there, and it's
Right.
another adult for the
Well-
coach to help look out for the kids too.
Well, but when the kids get on the bus and they see the same person, it's a calming effect. It
Yes.
did with my guys. Now, one of the last questions, what is unique at Phoebus that's not the same at the other schools?
Well, I would say that probably it's the eligibility as it pertains to the magnet programs that we have
Right.
at Phoebus.
Explain the magnet program.
We have technology, Project Lead the Way, robotics, and culinary arts, and some video media magnet programs at Phoebus. And a student can attend Phoebus and live out of zone. if they have been accepted to, if they've meet the criteria for that magnet program,
Right.
they can come to Phoebus, and if they're there all day, they would become eligible for VHSL competitions.
Okay.
And my job is to, I don't have any say-so on who comes in or out as far as the program.
Right.
That's another department. But once they're there, I have to assure that if they're going to play sports, that if they're accepted into a program, that they maintain the GPA and the grades that are supposed to be, that are required of that program,
Right.
as well as they follow the curriculum, follow the different class sequences.
If they drop out of the program, they're gone, aren't they?
They drop out, they have to go back to their home school. That's correct.
All right, very good.
So.
Well, Deanna, I appreciate you taking time to come in here and talk to me. I've learned a whole lot about you that amazes me, and I think you're doing a fantastic job over at Phoebus. And I just want to tell you to continue success. I know that you're happy over there and you're having a good time over
Right.
there. And again, I want to thank my special guest, Deanna Brown, the athletic director of Phoebus High School, for coming over with us today. Bob Hintz, good afternoon.